Get out and don't ever come back. That was the last thing my mother said to me during a so-called family meeting I didn't even know was happening. No one defended me, not my dad, not my brother, the same brother who hasn't held a job in a year but still gets called the one who's trying. I didn't cry, I didn't beg, I didn't even slam the door. I just walked away, carrying a silence they didn't know held a secret. I had been paying the mortgage on that house for nearly 2 years. And when I disappeared, they didn't just lose a daughter. They lost the only person keeping everything from collapsing. Sunday dinners were a ritual in our home. Roast chicken, cornbread, and my mother's signature sweet tea. The food was warm, but the atmosphere was always tepid, polite, measured, careful. That Sunday felt no different until it did. I had barely finished half my plate when my mom cleared her throat. "We need to talk," she said. Her tone wasn't gentle, it wasn't maternal, it was cold, rehearsed. My father set down his fork. Tyler, my younger brother, didn't even look up from his phone. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was loaded. "You've been distant," she continued. "Ungrateful." My eyebrows lifted. "Ungrateful?" "For everything we've done for you," she added, voice tightening. "And now you're pulling away just when we need you." My fork hit the plate with a soft clink. I looked from her to my dad, then to Tyler. Still no eye contact, still no defense. I wanted to ask, is anyone else hearing this? But I already knew the answer. "You're ungrateful," my mother snapped again, her voice rising. "Get out, and don't bother coming back." The words didn't echo. They didn't bounce off walls. They just landed, hard and final. And yet something inside me didn't break. It snapped into place. I stood up, slow and deliberate, reached for my bag. I didn't cry. I didn't shout. I didn't slam the door. I just walked to it, opened it, and stepped out into the night air. For a moment, I expected someone to call after me. "Kayla, wait! Kayla, come back!" But there was nothing, just the creak of the door as it closed behind me, the absence of footsteps, the quiet betrayal of their silence. As I walked to my car, the cold bit into my skin, but it felt cleaner than the air I'd been breathing at that table. I slipped into the driver's seat, hands trembling slightly, not from sadness, but from something else, something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. I didn't drive far that night, just parked by the overlook that faced downtown Denver. Lights twinkled like stars scattered across concrete. I sat there, staring at the skyline, letting it hit me. They had finally made it easy for me to let go. I wasn't the kind of daughter who rebelled. I didn't scream. I didn't run away as a teenager. I stayed. I paid. I helped. I was the glue, the bridge, the one who made things work. But glue cracks, bridges wear thin, and even the most reliable people break when they've been taken for granted too long. That night, I promised myself something. I wasn't going to chase after people who needed me only when it suited them. I wasn't going to beg to stay in a home where I was only welcome if I was useful. So I drove to a friend's place. She didn't ask questions, just handed me a blanket and said, "You're staying here tonight." I slept like a stone. In the morning, I expected regret to hit me like a freight train, but all I felt was peace, quiet, steady peace. I hadn't lost a family. I had stepped away from a role I never agreed to play. And maybe, just maybe, that was the beginning of something better. I didn't scroll through old photos. I didn't replay their words in my head. I didn't even check their socials to see if they mentioned me. Instead, I moved through the days like someone learning how to walk again, slow, steady, unsure, but oddly hopeful. My new studio apartment sat on the edge of Capitol Hill. It wasn't big. The radiator clicked like it was arguing with the walls, and the windows didn't shut all the way. But for the first time in my life, the silence inside wasn't punishment, it was peace. No sticky notes from Mom reminding me to pay bills. No passive-aggressive comments about not visiting enough. No Tyler blaring video games at 2 a.m. Just me. And a city that didn't demand anything from me. I spent the first few days catching up on sleep. Real sleep. The kind where you don't wake up with your jaw clenched. I started walking to work instead of driving. I brought my lunch. I started cooking again. Nothing fancy, but food that tasted like me. I even lit a candle every night, lavender and cedar, just because I could. And still no one reached out. At first I thought maybe they needed time, or maybe they were proud, stubborn. But by day 10, I realized the truth. They weren't punishing me. They were adjusting to life without me. Not as a daughter, but as a resource. I should have felt hurt, but all I felt was lighter. Then came Tuesday morning. I was halfway through my second cup of coffee, watching the sun bounce off the glass buildings across the street, when my phone buzzed. Dad. "Hey, did you already send this month's mortgage payment?" No hello, no how are you, just straight to the point. I stared at the screen, blinking. I read it again, then laughed, out loud. Not because it was funny, but because it was so them. So perfectly, predictably them. I hadn't heard a word in 3 weeks. Not after they kicked me out. Not after Mom screamed. Not after I walked out the front door with nothing but my purse and a scarf. But now that the bank account was quiet too, suddenly they remembered I existed. I didn't respond right away. I let the message sit there, glowing like a little lie pretending to be casual. I washed my mug, tied up my hair, checked my email, and then, 30 minutes later, I typed back one line. Oh, I thought I wasn't welcome anymore. I hit send and waited. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then came back, then vanished again. I smiled and turned my phone over. It buzzed again, then again, then again. Mom. Kayla, this isn't the time to be petty. Dad. We need your help. The bank called. Tyler. Wow. Way to destroy the family just to prove a point. There it was. The silence had cracked, but not from love, from panic. They weren't calling because they missed me. They were calling because their safety net had snapped. And for once, I wasn't rushing in to fix it. Not yet. I didn't answer their calls that night. I left the phone buzzing on the kitchen counter while I folded laundry and listened to an old jazz playlist. The notes of Miles Davis filled the room, and for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel guilty for not picking up. I felt grounded, calm, powerful. The next morning, I sat down at my tiny kitchen table with my laptop and opened a spreadsheet. The old habit kicked in. Columns for date, category, amount. I started typing out every transaction I could remember. Mortgage, utilities, groceries, gas money. Random transfers labeled just in case. I scrolled back months, then years. The total crept higher with each row. 500 here, 900 there. A few thousands for emergencies that never seemed to end. By the time I finished, I had sent over $27,000 in the past 2 years. I stared at the number. $27,000, that's more than most people save in 5. And I didn't do it because I was asked politely. I did it because I thought it was love. Because no one else would. Because if I didn't, who would? My chest tightened, not with sadness, but with realization. To them, I wasn't Kayla. I was a paycheck with a pulse. Growing up, I was the good kid, the quiet one, the one who never snuck out, never broke curfew, never talked back. Tyler was the firework, loud, reckless, forgiven, always forgiven. He dropped out of community college twice, worked 3 jobs in 1 year and quit them all. He lived at home rent-free, upgraded his gaming system twice, and still got to be the sensitive one. Meanwhile, I got a scholarship, graduated early, moved out, got promoted twice before I turned 28, paid off my student loans, and no one noticed. No one asked how I was holding up. They only asked when the bills were due. I remembered the Sunday my dad's voice cracked as he asked for help covering the water heater replacement. "It's just temporary," he said. "We'll pay you back." They never did. I remembered my mom crying over groceries, saying things were tight. I sent $300 that night without blinking. I didn't eat out for a month to make it work. I remembered Tyler's birthday, when they threw him a backyard cookout and bought him a new soundbar. I brought the cake. I also paid the electric bill that week. But no one thanked me. They just expected it. That was the part that stung the most. Not the money, not the imbalance, but the absence of recognition, the erasure. I was the invisible lifeline. The moment I stopped giving, I became the villain, and now they were calling me selfish. I closed my laptop and leaned back in my chair. For years, I thought if I just kept showing up, kept giving, kept helping, they'd eventually see me, really see me, but maybe they never would. Maybe the version of me they loved only existed when I was useful, when I was convenient, when I didn't say no. My phone buzzed again. Tyler, still ignoring us? Real mature? I didn't respond. Because the truth was simple, I wasn't ignoring them, I was just done. Done being the dependable one, the easy one, the daughter who gave and gave until there was nothing left. From here on out, I wasn't going to be their lifeline. I was going to be mine. The message came late on a Thursday night. I was brushing my teeth when the screen lit up. Dad, let's talk. Tomorrow 6 p.m. Just want us to be on the same page. No punctuation, no warmth, no apology, just a summons. Something about it didn't sit right, but I stared at that one line and part of me still hoped it meant closure, reconciliation, maybe even accountability. So I said yes, one last chance to clear the air. Big mistake. I arrived at the house at 5:58. The porch light was on. Tyler's car sat crooked in the driveway. I took a breath, walked up the steps, and opened the door. The smell of pot roast lingered in the air, but it felt hollow, like a memory gone stale. Tyler was already on the couch, arms crossed, smirking like he'd already won an argument I hadn't heard yet. My mother stood near the kitchen island, folder in hand, her lips pressed so tight they were barely visible. I didn't even get my coat off before she spoke. "We need to talk about the mortgage." Her voice was cold, not concerned, not afraid, cold. My eyes narrowed. What about it? Dad stepped forward. Your mom and I have been looking at the numbers. We're struggling, Kayla. It's not sustainable anymore. We need you to start covering the full amount every month. I blinked. I've already been paying half for over a year. Yes, Mom said quickly, but that was when things were easier. Now it's harder. I turned to Tyler. Then maybe Tyler could contribute. Mom snapped the folder shut. Do not throw that in his face. He's trying. I felt my jaw clench. Trying what exactly? He hasn't worked in almost a year. Tyler shrugged. You're the one with the finance job. Why is it such a big deal for you? That was it, the moment everything clicked. This wasn't a family meeting. It was an ambush. A staged intervention with me cast as the selfish antagonist. They had written the script. All I had to do was play my part. Only I didn't. I kept my voice even. You've all decided this already, haven't you? This isn't a discussion, it's a demand. Dad lifted his hands. We're family, Kayla. Families support each other. No, I said, standing straighter. Families don't manipulate each other. They don't guilt-trip the one person keeping the lights on while the other plays Xbox all day. Tyler rolled his eyes. You always make everything about money. I laughed, dry and sharp. Because I'm the only one who treats it like it matters. You treat it like magic, like it just shows up because someone loves you enough to keep bleeding for you. That's when Mom exploded. You're ungrateful. After everything we've done for you, we ask for a little help and you act like we're criminals. My heart didn't race, my eyes didn't water, I felt clear. They weren't hearing me, I thought. They never had. They didn't want me to talk. They wanted me to fold. And when I didn't, I became disposable. Mom pointed to the door. If you're not going to support this family, then don't bother showing your face here again. I looked to Dad, to Tyler. Nothing, not a word, not a move, just silence. So I turned, walked to the door, and stepped across a threshold I hadn't even realized I'd been trapped behind for years. As I shut it behind me, I didn't feel regret. I felt something cleaner. Freedom. The night after the ambush, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the silence too loud to ignore. My brain kept replaying their faces, the entitlement, the rehearsed lines, the lack of shame. I wasn't sure what hurt more, being cast as the villain or realizing how easy it had been for them to do it. But hurt eventually turned into clarity. There was something about the way Dad had said we're struggling that didn't add up. And the way Mom clutched that folder, it wasn't desperation, it was deflection. So the next morning, I made a call. It took 3 transfers, 15 minutes on hold, and more than one awkward explanation, but finally, I was speaking to someone in the mortgage department. I know I'm not the account holder, I said carefully, but I've been helping with payments for over a year. I just need to know, are the payments up to date? There was a pause, then the woman on the line lowered her voice. I can't give you full access, she said, but I can tell you this. The account is several months behind. My stomach dropped. How many months? Another pause. Only partial payments have been made over the last 8 months. 8. 8 months. That meant even when I was sending money, even when I was covering half or more, they still weren't paying the full amount. I sat there, frozen, phone in one hand, coffee in the other, suddenly bitter in more ways than one. The air felt heavy. My thoughts didn't swirl. They sharpened. They had lied. Repeatedly. I opened my banking app and pulled up my transaction history. The transfers labeled mortgage, mom. One every month, without fail. Thousands upon thousands of dollars. Quiet, unquestioned help. And now? Now they were behind. Not because I stopped, but because they never used it for what they said they would. I closed the app and stared at the wall. Where had it all gone? Spa days? I remembered once borrowing Mom's laptop to print something and seeing a receipt for a weekend massage package. A gift from a friend, she said. New patio furniture? Tyler had posted a photo on Instagram last month, lounging in a chair that didn't exist the last time I visited. And Jared's car, the one with the custom rims and new stereo. It broke down, Mom had said. We had no choice. Sure. The betrayal didn't hit like a slap. It sank like a stone, deep, quiet, irrefutable. They weren't drowning. They were decorating the boat while pretending to sink. My fingers hovered over my phone. It buzzed again. Tyler, please just call Mom. She's a mess. Was I supposed to feel bad? Because I was a mess for years while she twisted my loyalty into a leash. Every dollar came wrapped in guilt. Every hesitation was met with, don't you love us? I did, I had. But love didn't mean financing delusion. So I texted back. Me. Funny, you all seemed fine when the money was flowing. Where did it go, Tyler? 3 dots. Then nothing. I waited, still nothing. That silence told me everything. They never thought I'd ask, they never thought I'd stop. But I had, and I wasn't done. Not even close, the silence didn't last long. By noon the next day, my phone turned into a battlefield. Missed calls from mom, voicemails from dad, texts from Tyler that bounced between guilt and passive aggression like it was a sport. But I didn't respond. Not yet. I wasn't being cruel, I was being careful. That afternoon, I did something I never thought I'd do. I started documenting. I opened a fresh spreadsheet, titled it Family Transfers. Line by line, I input every transaction from the past 2 years, color-coded by category: mortgage, utilities, groceries, emergencies. Each row was a receipt, not just for dollars, but for my time, my sacrifice, my silence, because I knew what would come next. The narrative shift. They'd say I was bitter, that I was unstable, that I never really wanted to help, that they made mistakes but didn't deserve to be abandoned. I'd heard it all before. But this time I had facts, receipts, boundaries, and a voice. That evening my phone rang again, 6 times. On the 7th I picked up. "Kayla!" Mom's voice cracked like a whip, equal parts panic and performance. "What is wrong with you? You can't just abandon your family like this." I said nothing. She continued, "We're losing the house. Don't you care? After all we've done for you." "Where did the money go, Mom?" I asked quietly. Silence. "What?" she stammered. "The mortgage, the money I've been sending, the payments the bank says haven't been made for almost a year. Where did it go?" Her voice faltered. "Well, some went to bills and groceries. You know life isn't cheap. Groceries don't cost $5,000 a month." She paused. "Your father needed dental work, and Jared's car broke down. It was an emergency." I closed my eyes. "The car he posted on Instagram with the custom rims?" "Don't make it sound like we were reckless," she snapped. "You were," I said evenly, "and now you want me to fix it." There was a long pause, then Dad's voice replaced hers, softer, more measured. "Kayla, please. We just need help this month. Just enough to stop the bank. After that, we'll fix it. We promise." I almost laughed. "Like all the other months you were fixing it while pocketing my help? That's not fair." "No," I cut in. "What's not fair is being thrown out of a house I helped pay for. Being called ungrateful for not handing over more while no one else lifted a finger." I stood up and began pacing. "Let me ask you something. If I hadn't asked the bank, how long were you planning to keep pretending everything was fine? Until foreclosure? Until I bailed you out again?" Silence. "We didn't mean to lie," Mom whispered. "We were scared. We thought if you knew the truth, you'd stop helping. So you lied to keep the money flowing." "We didn't see another way." "There's always another way," I said. "But you didn't want it. You wanted me." The line stayed quiet. Then I gave them what they feared most. Finality. "Sell the house." "Kayla, please." "No, figure it out like adults. I'm done being your bailout plan." "But this is our family home." "And you threw me out of it." Dead silence. Then I hung up. No dramatic ending, no plea, no promise. Just a clean break from a role I never asked to play. And for the first time, I wasn't reacting, I was deciding. The next 48 hours were eerily quiet. No calls, no texts, no guilt-drenched voicemails, just stillness. It was almost unnerving, like the moment right before a storm. Then on day 3 it came. "Tyler, thanks a lot, Kayla. They're talking about moving in with me now. I hope you're happy." I rolled my eyes so hard I nearly gave myself a headache. "Happy? No. Resolved? Yes." I typed back. "They kicked me out, not the other way around." 10 seconds later, he fired back. "Yeah, well, maybe if you weren't so cold all the time, they wouldn't have to. You broke Mom." There it was again. Family logic. Draw a boundary and suddenly you're the abuser. Defend your peace and suddenly you're the villain. I replied calmly, "She broke herself by lying. You just helped." He left me on red. That night, I got an email from Dad. It was long, carefully worded, his usual tone. The subject line read, "Let's talk." He said he was disappointed in how things had escalated. He said he forgave me for walking away, as if forgiveness was his to give. He hoped I remembered where I came from. What he didn't say, sorry. What he didn't attach, accountability. Instead, he sent a spreadsheet of their last 3 months of expenses, highlighted at the top, the overdue mortgage amount. I didn't reply. Instead, I updated my own spreadsheet, added new columns, narrative versus reality, highlighted every sacrifice, labeled each lie. This wasn't paranoia, this was preparation, because I knew, when people like them lose access, they rewrite history. But I had the truth, and I wasn't funding their fiction anymore. The next morning, one final message came. "Mom, we're selling the house." No greeting, no warmth, just a sentence that landed heavier than any insult they'd thrown. But you know what? That message hit harder than all the yelling in the world, not because it hurt, but because it meant they finally understood. I wasn't coming back. Not as a safety net, not as a daughter to be guilted into submission, not as the invisible engine that kept their lives running. They could sell the house. I had already bought my freedom. The day the house sold, I thought I'd cry. I thought I'd mourn something, my childhood, my family, Maybe even the version of me who once believed I had to earn love by overextending. But I didn't cry. I walked past that house one last time, the sold sign out front, the porch light off, the windows dark, and I felt nothing. No grief, no guilt, just space. Space where obligation used to live, where anxiety used to build a nest in my chest. I heard from a cousin weeks later that they had moved into a small rental near Tyler's place. They didn't tell me, and I didn't ask. It was strange watching my childhood dissolve like a photograph left in the sun. Stranger still, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss the house. I didn't miss the pressure. I didn't miss being someone I never got to be for myself. Because here's what I know now: family isn't who demands loyalty. Family is who respects your no. It's the friend who brought me soup the first night I left, the coworker who saved me a slice of cake at lunch, the barista who learned my name and my order by week 2, and most of all, it's me. For the first time in my life, I chose me. I paid my own rent, ate my own food, slept in a space where no one weaponized love or demanded penance for independence. Still, sometimes late at night, I wonder, was I too harsh? Was there another way? But then I remember the silence after they kicked me out. The lies. The years of being the reliable one while everyone else got to be fragile, forgiven, adored. And I know I didn't break the family. I just stopped letting them break me. The house wasn't mine, it never was. But this peace, this life, it's all mine now. Maybe you've been there too. Being the quiet one, the dependable one, the one who keeps showing up even when no one sees you. But here's the truth. You are not selfish for setting boundaries. You are not cruel for walking away from people who only love you when you're useful. Choosing yourself isn't betrayal, it's healing. And if this story resonated with you, if you've ever been the one holding it all together in silence, know that you're not alone anymore. Subscribe to this channel for more real stories that remind you you're allowed to say no, you're allowed to choose peace, and you're allowed to walk away and still be whole. Share your thoughts in the comments. Someone out there needs your story too, because healing begins when silence ends.